Well, Terrapines, I'm standing here with the esteemed Mr. Lobo from Cinema Insomnia, cinemainsomnia.com, that is. And Mr. Lobo is a current horror host, and he's one of the better ones that's out there, if I may say so.
I have a little something, I guess, for your viewers at home. This is kind of what I do at the beginning of my show. You are under my power. Look into the hypnotic eye. Time now to enter Mr. Lobo's domain. Open your mind to the possibility that they're not bad movies, just misunderstood. You're not dreaming. You're watching Terror Transmission. Or maybe Cinema Insomnia at some other time.
Or how about both? Why not?
So can you tell our viewers a little bit about your show and the history of the show? You've been around for a time now.
10 years. This year will be the beginning of our 10th year. 2001, I worked at a television station in Sacramento, California, ABC affiliate. They had a movie at 3 a.m., 3:05 a.m. actually.
That's a heck of a time for a film.
Yeah, and 3:05 really, 3 in the morning is when you decide if you're gonna go to bed or stay up all damn night.
Hell yeah.
3:05 is after you've already made that decision.
Yes, absolutely.
So we had a very select audience, but what happened, they had this movie at 3 in the morning. It ran 20 minutes short. And
do you remember the film?
the very first one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was They Made Me a Criminal.
Oh,
which
sure.
isn't even a horror film.
Yeah,
it's the dead
noir, yeah.
the dead end kids and Claude Rains. Claude Rains and the Dead End Kids.
We know Claude Rains at Terror Transmission.
What a combination. But so that was the first one, and anyhow, but the movie at 3 a.m. ran 20 minutes short every week, and I had done some live film shows in town, and I'd even done some revival shows with Creature Features, which was the show I grew up with, and so I actually did.
This is John Stanley, Creature Features.
Bob Wilkins.
Bob
actually.
Wilkins. Okay.
Bob Wilkins. I've worked with John also, but Bob. So we would have we had Bob Wilkins come out and show like It Came from Outer Space in 3D or whatever, like at a local nightclub or whatever. You know, these really small events. And Bob said, you should do this kind of thing. And I said, Bob, people don't do this kind of thing anymore.
Yeah.
That's like saying you should take up blacksmithing. That would be a great idea. He said, no, this horror host thing, it's a cycle. He goes, we're coming up on that 20-year cycle. You could be on the forefront of a new wave of horror hosts, and I just wasn't hearing it. I didn't think that. He was the man. The guy you see when you're 8 years old is the guy forever, right?
Absolutely, he makes the impression.
And but I 4 years later, I worked at a TV station. They had this movie that ran 20 minutes short. I went to the general manager's office and I said, I think I can fill that 20 minutes with something, and they didn't care. Which is the best license for you could ever hope for, is them not caring because they didn't ever watch what I was doing. And we made our first pilot and we gave it to them, and when they aired it, and we didn't know, I came back to work on Monday and I said, what did you think of the pilot? And they said, well, we aired it. Where's next week's? I said, no, you're supposed to tell us whether you like it or not. I said, well, we aired it. Where's next week's? So we hit the ground running. We did first 22 shows back to back like that. And we started getting some attention. After the 13th episode, we really started getting mail and phone calls, and the station really started getting nervous. It was easy for them when there was nobody watching. But once people started watching and started getting successful, they were more perplexed as to whether they really wanted to own it, meaning whether they really wanted to be associated with those kinds of movies or that kind of humor, or whether they really wanted to elevate me from a production person to a talent person, which would be paying me more money, or whether they wanted to actually assign one of their own producers to the show. Television isn't the medium it once was. It's the same thing with music. We've got this issue with people downloading music and all this kind of stuff. Well, music isn't as powerful as it used to be. Music it's a cheaper medium than it used to be.
People in their bedrooms are making music and releasing them on CD regularly and doing well.
Right, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the nature of it has changed. It used to be that only kings and queens put sugar in their tea because they're the only people who could afford it. And now sugar is free in every McDonald's, you know.
Absolutely.
There's a certain collector mentality that goes along, and a lot of our viewers are familiar with it because we cater to rabid horror fans, quite honestly, mostly classic horror fans. But there's a collector mentality that goes along with it, where when you when you make the purchase, you make it a piece of yourself. You're representing yourself with it sitting on your shelf. You know, you're saying to yourself when you look through your collection, or people who come over to see your collection, this is a piece of me. It's an important piece of me, and that's why it's on my wall.
It's somewhat of an affectation, just like your clothes you wear or the car you drive. It's a way to express your individuality. You know, some people have an earring. You know, some people
have two.
Some people have two.
Some people have a cock ring.
Right. Exactly. So I mean, you know, wear a button. You know, I mean, I think that's probably where a lot of media, as far as making money with media, is going, is in merchandising, because people do want to have that thing on their shelf. Maybe it's not a DVD case anymore. Maybe it's a figure of a monster that's on that DVD.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask Mr. Lobo, where's Mittens?
Miss Mittens hates these kinds of things.
Hates these kinds of things.
Hates the people.
Okay.
She's a very bitter houseplant. You know, I mean, she has I don't want to say she has a thing about human beings in general, you know. You're moistening your mouth.
Well, they're tasty human beings. It's tender flesh.
She doesn't. She's a wet blanket at these kind of things, you know.
Yeah.
She calls them geeks. She calls them nerds, indoor kids.
She'd be very popular here, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, and I think a lot of it is that the fans try to take her leaves and stuff.
I couldn't imagine that from this group of fine folks.
Yeah, she doesn't really understand the fandom aspect of it. So she likes her privacy. We keep her at home for these kinds.
Well, send her a salute from Terror Transmission for sure. We want to thank Mr. Lobo from CinemaInsomnia.com.
Well, thank you for making me part of the Terror Transmission.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Terror Transmission.